Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Monday, May 4th. For all you Star Wars fans, may the 4th be with you. Um, we're going to continue our journey into Psalm 23. So let's go there together, shall we? The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. As always, we're going to look at another section here in Psalm 23, but I want to anchor us in this. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He returns my soul to me. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. I think that's a fascinating place. If he leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake, and we talked the other day about how he has a vested interest in you living into the fullness of who you are. And this next section here that David offers is because he's leading you in the paths of righteousness. What we find is David can say, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. And some of your translations will say, yea, though I walk through the darkest of valleys. But I want to offer that I think we lose something in that translation because it's not actually the original Hebrew. That's an interpretation of what the original Hebrew is saying. I think David is saying something in particular here, and I think David's caught something that is really important for us. That as the Lord is leading you in the paths or leading you through, that there are seasons where the Lord will lead you into what feels like the depths of the valley of the shadow of death. And in the New Testament, what we now know in reality, because we've experienced it, is what Paul says in Romans 5, that sin and death have been done away with, and that causes us to be able to say, to echo what Paul says, and, oh, death, where is your sting? But I think David caught something in this as his soul was returned to him. What he caught is that the enemy can't deal with death anymore because it's been done away with. He can only deal with the shadow of death. And shadows are fascinating things because shadows actually have no substance. But what they do is they can intimidate and they can cause fear and worry and anxiety. And so on a practical level, this is the beauty of it, is that the Lord is leading you into a place where it can feel like the shadow is big. And I'll use this language that I think a lot of times practically what happens is we begin to journey with the Lord and what takes place is the fear of the future. We call it being preoccupied. Pre meaning before and then occupied. Is that as I'm sitting in this moment, many times the only weapon that the enemy has, because I've been given all authority, because Christ has been given all authority, and I've been given rest and peace and hope, many times the only weapon the enemy has is to deal in the shadows of being preoccupied with something in the future. To be so focused on something that's going on in the future that I have no responsibility for, and the what ifs and the worries and the anxieties and the fears, that I can actually lose sight of the peace, rest, and hope that the Lord is inviting me to deal in right now. Or what happens is I go back to a place of in my past, and I've got regrets, and I've got sorrows and griefs and all of these things, and bitterness and offense, and I can actually be living in a moment but be so preoccupied with my future or so preoccupied with my past that I can't ever be fully present with my soul, my body, soul, and spirit in the moment. And so David seems to be saying is, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. I think what he's offering us this morning devotionally, and this has been my prayer for our body and for our community, is that we would find ourselves in the midst of this, and if the shadow of death is coming up in us, please know that though the dogs of doom may bark loud, they actually have no bite. because that's what Jesus died for. Is he died to say that I've taken away the sting of death. And though the shadow may be large, what the Lord is actually doing is he is teaching us how to steady our hearts on him. He is our shepherd. And though he's walking us in the paths of righteousness that may feel like the shadow of death, what we find is that his face is right there before us. And much like a shadow in the natural, when a light is flipped, or let's say a match is lit, there is no debate, there is no discussion if that shadow can stay. It dissipates immediately. It takes one light to dissipate a shadow. And I want to offer that this morning, that as we sit with the Lord, his delight, his joy is to strike a match, to give an illumination, to be the light, and to illuminate the shadow of death, exposing that it has no true authority. And the only authority that it has in your life is the partnership and the agreement that we give it. And so I pray and I bless us with the reality that you have been given all authority in Christ Jesus. And it's one look at him, and all of the preoccupation with the future anxieties and worries, all of the shame and the guilt of the past, they dissipate in one moment of illumination from him. So we bless you with the courage to stare at the face of Jesus, even if you seem to be journeying through the valley of the shadow of death. Have a great Monday.